Good day, my name is Almarie Nell. I'm an educational psychologist working for Community Keepers. All families struggle when life is turned upside down by a pandemic such as COVID-19. Our daily routine and structures are all upside down, and usually this gives us control and an ability to plan ahead. During a pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability. And this causes our levels of anxiety and uncertainty and worry to rise. One thing I had learned from watching chimpanzees with their infants is that having a child should be fun. At the beginning of lockdown, lots of parents said, this is a wonderful opportunity for us as a family to have fun together. I'm going to watch my child learn, I'm going to help and be involved. And as the weeks passed and the unpredictability of the length of the lockdown became a reality, we changed our tune to, but this is hard. I'm struggling to have fun, and I feel guilty for not having fun with my child. Being a parent is an all-consuming responsibility and a wonderful privilege. From birth and beyond, a child has needs, and today we're going to discuss what a baby needs from birth and what they are entitled to. We'll also discuss the development of an attachment relationship between a parent and child. Parenting during a pandemic is more complex than usual. So we'll look at the reality of parenting, and we'll also look at different ages, how children might respond at different developmental stages, and how we can respond to their behavior. The relationship between a baby and a mother starts from conception throughout pregnancy. During pregnancy, a mother's behavior, lifestyle, and emotional functioning has a huge impact on that fetus's development and experiencing within utero. Babies are completely dependent on a primary caregiver for survival. They are instinctively primed to form a relationship with a caregiver who is consistent, responsive, and sensitively attuned to their physical and emotional needs. Babies communicate these needs through attachment behaviors. Examples of positive attachment behaviors would be cooing, smiling, and reaching out. And then protest behaviors would include crying and fretting. The caregiver's response is highly significant, because this, as a result, will cause selective attachment to form from birth through the early childhood years. A mother who is emotionally and physically available creates a reciprocal positive feedback loop. And this is where a mutually satisfying bond between the baby and the mother develops. How parents respond matters. A parent's ongoing response to the infant's signal determines their development, cognitive development, social development, emotional development. This attachment relationship is a child's map for development. It is their first coping system. The attachment relationship is crucial to a child's trust of people, their understanding of relationships, and their feeling about themselves. Looking at the infant attachment cycle, the baby might experience a need, either hunger, thirst, a need for proximity, feeling discomfort, and the baby will cry. The need is met by the caregiver sensitively and accurately. Then trust develops. The baby develops trust in him or herself to convey a message to the caregiver, and a trust in the caregiver to respond accurately. And on the other hand, trauma has an effect on this attachment cycle. The baby might have the same need, also starts crying. The need is not met by the caregiver, and then mistrust develops. Within a secure attachment, the baby or the child is comforted when they are in distress. The child feels safe enough to relax, play, and learn. This child feels heard and understood, and this builds their confidence, a feeling of competence in their ability to convey a message, and that their caregiver hears what they are conveying. Children who are securely attached tend to have healthy self-esteem. They have empathy with other people, and they tend to be resilient. They deal effectively with stress. Today we're going to talk about the reality of parenting during COVID-19. Whether we are in the midst of a pandemic or not, it is important, however, to take into consideration what a child's needs and desires are from birth and beyond, and look at the parent-child relationship. Children are not immune to the emotional impact that the pandemic has on the community and the family. Parenting is much more complicated during a pandemic. We have to either work from home or we've lost our jobs. The uncertainty about going back to work or not, financial stress, having to provide in this time of uncertainty, parents not knowing when children will get back to school, etc. It complicates parenting. Children respond to our behavior. They might act out, have emotional outbursts, or be defiant. This behavior raises our struggles as parents. It's almost like a vicious cycle. Therefore, we need to be very aware of our behavior in order to limit the negative impact that it might have on our children. Research shows that one of the best protections for children is having a caregiver who is reliable, consistent, caring, and who protects them from disaster or trauma. And this parent or caregiver is like a protective shield against any outside force. The protective shield is an unconditional, loving and caring parent-child relationship. It makes a child feel secure, valued, and unconditionally accepted and protected. Then we have the opposite. A child that does not experience such a relationship or has never been exposed to a sensitively attuned caregiver will exhibit feelings of anger and sadness. To them, the world is unsafe. They distrust others and the world, and they don't have a protective shield. This has a negative impact on their emotions and can cause long-term emotional, behavioral, and developmental difficulties. This information is not intended to stress us as parents out. We must be aware of our behavior and responses to the world. Children observe us, they imitate us, and absorb our emotions. How do we deal with uncertainty? How do we deal with conflict and anxiety? We teach them about the world through our behavior. What do we teach them during this pandemic? That the world is an unsafe virus-infected place and that it makes parents angry and confused? We cannot change or stop the virus, but we can foster healthy, positive relationships and equip families with skills to communicate their feelings with unconditional acceptance. In our households, we might have children in various developmental stages, or we might have a few children in the same developmental stage, and you'll see each child behaves and responds differently in any situation, whether it's a traumatic situation or circumstance or not. Today we'll look at various developmental stages and see how they might behave and how we can respond. Starting with babies and toddlers, our stress hormone, called cortisol, rise sky high when we are anxious about our family's health, finances, etc. Babies and toddlers are not immune to this. They observe us and they absorb the anxiety that is exuded from our bodies. They are very, very sensitive to our tone of voice, to the use of language and pitch. During this time, we might see our babies and toddlers present with the following behavior. They might be clingy, more clingy than usual, cry at bedtime, regress to previous developmental stages, for example, starting again to suck their thumb or sucking a dummy. They might be fearful of strangers, noises, or anything new. Changes in their diet. They might wake more at night and have fears for unknown experiences. What we as parents can do is to acknowledge their emotions. Yes, they can't talk yet, and their vocabulary and language development is limited, but they will know that they are heard and understood. practice patience and tolerance. It is very hard when we are stressed and preoccupied about responsibilities, parental responsibilities, but they can feel when we are tolerant and patient for them. Limit exposure to screen time, keep regular bedtime routines, play with them, and allow for clinginess. We can never spoil our babies with too much affection and love. Preschoolers. At this stage, children don't have the language to describe what they are experiencing, and they can't ask questions, but they do feel helpless and uncertain about danger. Anxiety and helplessness lead to regression to earlier developmental stages and a lack of joy and interest in learning new things. And this is a phase where children tend to learn with so much joy and energy, but parental stress can shut that down. We must heal ourselves and be aware of our functioning in order for preschoolers to stay on track emotionally and physically. Our preschoolers might present with the following behaviors: difficulty focusing on play and learning, regression. They might start talking like a baby again. They might want to go back to sucking dummy or their thumb, and they might even wet their bed. Acting out behavior is also very common for this age. What can parents do? Acknowledge their emotions. This is the perfect phase to add language to what they are experiencing, the vocabulary of emotions, in order for them to learn to express themselves, and they will feel heard and understood by us. Play with them. Avoid unnecessary media. Limit screen time. Let them help in the kitchen or in the house with chores. Creative activities is a wonderful way for them to express themselves. Play in the mud, get dirty, draw, cut and paste. Physical activities, very important, and play with them outside. Create gentle boundaries when you and your preschooler is calm. This poem reminded me of preschoolers and primary schoolers. I tried to teach my child with books. He gave me only puzzled looks. I used clear words to discipline, but I never seemed to win. Despairingly, I turned aside. How shall I reach this child? I cried. Into my hand he put the key. Come, he said, play with me. Children in primary school are very perceptive. They hear everything we say and they understand. They worry about their own health and others' health. And this is the perfect age to communicate with your child. Talk about strategies for the family and about their worries and uncertainties. What we do during this temporary time has a long-lasting effect on our children. We might see primary schoolers present with the following. They might be less focused on schoolwork or reading. They might be frustrated, be more argumentative, compete for attention, more conflict in the house, and they might even withdraw. What us as parents can do is acknowledge their emotions. They have a vocabulary of emotions, and for us to acknowledge that they feel frustrated will make them feel heard. Be patient and tolerant. Set gentle limits, speaking calmly. Limit screen time and do regular exercise with them, or let them go by themselves, cycle around the block or go for a walk if it's safe. And participate in chores. Children in primary school really enjoy being involved in household activities, and be creative and let them be creative. Teenagers comprehend the trauma and circumstances completely. However, they cannot cope with it or organize their emotions as adults can. Enhance critical thinking during this time. Give them responsibilities. They will feel trusted and competent. Teenagers might present with the following: social withdrawal. It's very normal for them to withdraw from us as parents, but we must be aware of social withdrawal from friends. Depressive symptoms, aggression, frustration, irritability, and unmotivated about schoolwork. What us as parents can do is to empathize with them. Respect their personal space, but do check in from time to time. Cook their favorite meal or ask them to help in the kitchen with their favorite meal. And communicate to them. Talk about their feelings and the circumstances. Go for a run or walk with them and support them in creating a healthy routine. I truly hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and good luck in this challenging time.